This is Donna with More Than a Review, and we are live in Nashville at the Muncie Christian Product Expo. And I am here with Peggy Sue Wells, who's even going to tell us how she got her name. I'm excited about that. And she's going to share, she is a fiction writer, so I know you guys are going to be excited about that. And she has both a novel coming out and a thriller. So she's going to tell us a little bit about herself, and then she'll tell us about her book. So Peggy, share.
Yes, I was named after the Buddy Holly song, Peggy Sue. So I will walk into a room and people break into song, which I'm really good with. And everybody also knows how old I am because you can like track back when that song came out. And I'm actually what I would call a generalist because I've got children's books and I've got fiction books and I've got nonfiction books, but I have to say I'm really loving the fiction work. And the two that are coming out back to back are Homeless for the Holidays, which releases October 8th. And Homeless for the Holidays is a story of a family that loses it all and finds out they have everything. And so it's a very uplifting, hope-filled book. And then Chasing Sunrise comes out November 16th, and that is a thriller. And if you like military and you like tropical islands and you like music, this will be the book for you. My son was going into Spec Ops in the military, and all my daughters were big musicians. And so while I was sitting in a classical concert and thinking about what life is going to be for my son, and then thinking about the music, and my favorite place, which is St. Croix, and put them all together. And so it's an international thriller, and at the end we have Hurricane Hugo bulldozing the island, which took out, truthfully, 95% of St. Croix in 1989. So we have the hurricanes show up as well as all the bad guys, and our Spec Ops young man has to use all of his skills to save those people that he cares about.
Oh my goodness, that's going to be on our blog for sure, so you can be looking for that. So kind of tell us a little bit about, so you also have the children's books, so
yes,
like do you have to switch your mind like as you switch genres there?
I've got one of those minds that I have to be doing like 4 projects at the same time, so I'm always working on 4. And so some will be, depending on what's going and where the contracts are coming and when the due dates are, and then just putting them out like that. One of the fun things about Homeless for the Holidays and Chasing Sunrise is I have been in touch with Richard Paul Evans, who's the King of Christmas, and he's mentored me for a while. And that's been like so rich to get to know the man who writes these wonderful books. And he's so kind, and he's so humble, and he's so generous. And he endorsed both my books. So he endorsed Homeless for the Holidays, and he's endorsed Chasing Sunrise. And that just makes my heart happy because he's one of my, somebody that I look up to. And then to have him like put a little nice note for me made my heart happy.
Yes, I can imagine, because he does kind of own the holiday.
He does, right? He totally does, and he does it with grace. And when you're talking about the projects that I work on, I like to say that I live in the 100-acre woods in northeast Indiana, but it's actually 5 heavily treed acres, but it looks like the 100-acre woods from my office windows. And have a dog that belongs to my daughter who rides rodeo, but he stays with me, and he's a golden retriever named Whiskey. And so when I tell people, they're like, what are you going to do tonight? Well, I'm going to go home and spend some time with Whiskey. They're like, do we need to know something about you? It's like, no, it's the dog.
That is good.
Yeah, so he's my little, he just kind of hangs out and keeps me company. I think everybody needs some sort of, something breathing, and I have 7 children that now, like the last one, the baby's just gone off to college. And so the fun thing about having that is that I have learned over those years that some writers want solitude. I've never had solitude. So I write in a crowd and with all sorts of activity, and now that the children are gone, there are times that I take my computer and I go to a very busy restaurant just so I can be in the midst of life while I'm writing.
That is good. We were talking about that with some other authors. Sometimes it feels like a lonely profession if you are just writing at home by yourself. So do you have are you writing now for any projects coming in the future?
Yes, I've got one on, some people would know, a voice actress by the name of Katie Lee. She was Connie Kendall on Adventures in Odyssey for the past 30 years. She still sounds like she's 17. She's also the only voice for Dumbo for Disney, and she was Baby Rolf for people that grew up with the Muppets. So I'm writing her story, her memoir, and she's just a hoot. But all those people that we know their voice, she knows them, and through her I've met them, but we talk about the wonderful little things about them and how there have been times where hard things have happened in that community and how they've come around one another. So I'm finishing up that one. And then the other one that I'm doing is Best Decisions a Single Mom Can Make. And I'm writing that with Pam Farrell. And Pam Farrell's mother was a single mom, and my mom was a single mom, I'm a single mom. And so it's just really nice to come and say, you know what, there's like hope and there's redemption, and this is how you do it.
Yeah. single mom of 7 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my,
Mm-hmm.
bless you.
And I'm so thankful I have good material to work with.
I was just going to say, like, sometimes you don't realize when you're going through it that it's going to be something you can share with others. And I've met several women this week that you're writing about where you've been.
Yes.
Like you don't need a degree, like you've lived it.
Let me do the experience. And sometimes we write to what I wish I would have known, like the 20 years ago when I became a single mom. So there's a lot of that stuff that's in that book. And that book's called Rediscovering Your Happily Ever After, which I wrote about for single moms. And, one out of 4 households is a single parent-led household, but only 20% of those are churched. Because the single parent home feels judged in the church. And so if you want to know best mission field on the planet, your neighbors that are single parent. And those women and those children, they're doers, they're survivors. They know how to make things work, kind of like a twin engine plane with one engine, only functioning. So, welcome them into their church because they need to know Jesus. They need to know that they have a place. They need to know what healthy families and healthy relationships look like. And so when we are able to show them that, then we set the trend that the next generation, they'll make really good decisions with the spouses that they choose, and their families will be healthier.
Wow, that is beautiful. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. The other book that I happen to have out right now is called Slavery in the Land of the Free. And of course, human trafficking is kind of a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
And so I did a short little handbook, and so it's got bullet points and little boxes, so it's quick to read, but we profile a victim, the trafficker, and the Johns, and what fuels this is like, why is it growing, and how to recognize it in friends, neighbors, children that you go to school with, so that we can put a stop to it and so we can protect those kids that need it. But the thing that fascinated me about that was what drives it. And my son was in the military. He was doing black ops, stuff where I didn't know where he was, and once in a while he would pop up and we could talk on the computer for a few minutes. And I learned not to say, "Where are you?" because I'm forcing him to lie to me. So I could say, "How are you?" And so he's like, "What are you doing, Mom?" And I'm like, "I'm writing this book about human trafficking." And I said, "I had no idea." And my son says, "Mom, that goes on our military bases." And I was just sick. And I'm like, "Please tell me it's not our guys." And he says, "Actually, Mom, our guys are the ones that have the money to pay for it." So I'm like, okay, so this is another area where you can find that sort of thing happening. But the thing that I understood, that I finally, as I'm digging down, like, why? Because I said to my son, "Is this attractive?" And he's like, "No." He says, "There's something very sick there." And I'm like, "So then what drives it?" Because it's escalating. It's pornography. Because men that become addicted to pornography, it rewires their brain. And so the men that were protectors of women and children now become predators. And it's a total rewiring. There's a doctor named Dr. Earl Henslin, and he does brain scanning. And he said he can scan a brain, and he said he can see those changes in the directions of the brain. He says, "I can tell when I'm talking to an addict."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, isn't that fascinating? So it kind of gives us like a bit of a place of where to start and what to be looking for.
Yeah, that is excellent. I'm glad, because and I support all the books on human trafficking, but I think it is good to understand the root of the problem. I mean, that's always the key to anything, is understanding the root of the issue.
Absolutely.
Because we want to save them, absolutely, but you got to stop it from continuing and escalating.
Yeah, it's like there's that, where they're going over the cliff, and so you can catch the ones at the bottom, but how about if we stop them from going over in the first place?
Oh, yeah.
That would be the best place. Yeah.
That's
So that's Slavery in the Land of the Free, and it's good for any parents, any teachers, anybody that works with youth. And I wrote it so that middle schoolers and high schoolers can read it, because it's their peers, it's their siblings, and so when they can be aware of what's going on, they know how to take some action and to be proactive.
Oh, very good. And I think sometimes we try to think it's not happening in the U.S. and that it's only in other countries.
Yes.
But,
I can tell you, based on the numbers, it's happening in every city. Every city. And I live in little tiny, Roanoke outside Fort Wayne. I have headlines of children that have been rescued in the Fort Wayne area. And so it's happening there. Indiana just did a collective, investigation into the trafficking in Indiana and rescued 90 children. And Michigan just did it in a little tiny town called Flint and Durand. There were there was 75 children that were missing, and they recovered 3/4 of them. So, yeah.
I think sometimes that is a parent's worst fear too, when a child goes missing. I'm addicted to investigative discovery, which I know I shouldn't be. But that's what I think your fear is have they already been murdered, or are they having to be forced to live that kind of life?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so being able to rescue them is a whole different set of rules and whatnot. But you know, we can do something. We stopped slavery in this land once before, and we can do it again now. And then, so it's knowing what's going on and being our neighbor's keepers. If you've got a single mom in the neighborhood and you know she's working really hard and her kids are coming home to an empty house to do their homework, those are the ones that are vulnerable. So you know what? Have them come over, let them do homework at your house or whatever it is. But you know, if we support one another, we're going to do okay.
Or go back to the library.
Exactly.
That's
I love the library. Yeah. Isn't the library like the Disneyland for authors and readers? Yeah. Oh, and I did want to say what's hilarious about my 7 children. 2 of my daughters are full-time professional writers. They write far better than I do. And then 3 of my children are 1,000% allergic to words and books and writing. It's a hoot.
Oh, that is good. So I always like to end on a fun note of tell the listener something that they may be surprised to know about you. Now, you've already said the 7 children, which we would have been surprised.
I have gained and lost 350 pounds. I keep waiting for a tabloid to come want the weighty story, but it's because with each pregnancy I gained 50 pounds. I'm kind of an overachiever. You're only supposed to do 30, but I did 50. And then, you know, they had to drop it. So yeah, that's a gain and a loss of 350 pounds. And that's from someone who doesn't know how to do math. Math is a 4-letter word. Don't ask me.
Oh, that's very good. Thank you so much for coming and interviewing with us. It's been very fun. We will have a link to all of her books on the blog when we post this over there. Give us a couple weeks to get that out there. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.